The rain had been falling for hours, turning the long driveway of Hawthorne Manor into a glistening ribbon of gray. I stepped out of the car, my heels sinking slightly into the wet gravel, and took a deep breath. My name is Isabella Mercer, and I was returning to the estate that had once been the pride of my family and the place where everything I loved had been shattered. It had been 10 long years since I had last seen this mansion. 10 years filled with whispered accusations, legal battles, and questions that had never been answered. My father's sudden death had left a void not only in my heart, but in the very foundation of our family. Rumors of betrayal, theft, and hidden enemies had surrounded our legacy ever since. And now, summoned by a mysterious letter, I had returned, not just to mourn, but to reclaim what was mine. The letter had been brief, almost cryptic. The legacy you seek is hidden in plain sight. Trust no one. Meet at Hawthorne Manor. Midnight. As I approached the main entrance, the manor loomed like a sentinel from another era. Its Gothic spires pierced the low-hanging clouds, and ivy crawled across the stone walls, covering years of neglect. Every window seemed to stare down at me, silent witnesses to the decades of secrets that had festered within. The gate creaked as I pushed it open, echoing across the wet grounds. Inside, the grand hall smelled of aged wood and forgotten memories. The polished floors reflected the dim light from the antique chandeliers, casting shadows that danced like specters. My fingers brushed along the ornate banisters, tracing familiar patterns in the carved wood. Each step brought back flashes of childhood, laughter echoing through these halls, my father's stern but gentle voice, my mother's soft hum as she moved through the rooms. But the warmth of those memories was quickly overshadowed by the realization that the people I had trusted most might have been the architects of my family's ruin. I moved cautiously, every creak of the floorboards a reminder that I was not alone in this house, that the walls themselves seemed to hold secrets waiting to be uncovered. I wandered through the study, a room I had spent countless hours in as a child, pretending to be the heiress of a fortune I had only glimpsed through my father's careful lessons. And there it was, a hidden drawer in his desk, one I had never noticed before. Inside lay a bundle of letters, photographs, and legal documents, each piece hinting at alliances and betrayals I had never imagined. The photographs were the first shock, gatherings where smiles were painted over whispers of deceit, letters between my father's closest friends that hinted at hidden motives and secret schemes. The documents detailed transfers of property, financial manipulations, and meetings held in secrecy. One name, in particular, made my blood run cold: Damien Cross, my father's trusted advisor, whose name had never once appeared in my innocent childhood mind as a potential enemy. Night fell, and the storm outside intensified, matching the turmoil inside me. I lit a single candle on the desk, its flame trembling as I read a letter addressed directly to me in handwriting that I recognized instantly, my father's. Isabella, the world is not what it seems. People you trust may be your enemies, and those you fear may hold the key to your family's legacy. Trust your instincts, and remember, the truth is always worth the risk. A shiver ran down my spine. I realized then that reclaiming my family's inheritance would not be a matter of law alone. It would require strategy, courage, and an unwavering determination to uncover the truth, no matter how dangerous it might be. As the wind howled and the rain pelted the windows, I felt eyes watching me from the shadows of the manor, silent, calculating, waiting. The house had held its secrets for too long, and now I was here to awaken them. The journey ahead promised danger, deception, and the kind of revelations that could change everything. Tonight marked the beginning of my quest. And deep inside, a fire ignited, one that would not be extinguished until Hawthorne Manor's hidden truths had been fully revealed, and those responsible for my family's downfall were finally brought to justice. The first light of dawn barely filtered through the heavy curtains of Hawthorne Manor, casting long shadows across the grand hall. I, Isabella Mercer, sat at my father's old desk, the hidden letters and photographs spread before me like pieces of a puzzle. Each one revealed a web of lies and betrayals I had never imagined. Faces I had trusted, friends and allies of my family, were implicated in schemes to steal our wealth and destroy our legacy. Among the documents, one set of names caught my attention: Damien Cross, Margaret Langley, and Victor Hale. These were not casual acquaintances. These were people who had held power over my family, shaping its downfall with calculated precision. The thought that they had done this, while smiling in my father's face, made my blood boil. I spent the morning poring over every letter, every photograph, and every ledger. Some pages detailed clandestine meetings, others hinted at financial manipulations and secret alliances that had ensured my family's collapse. My head spun with the enormity of it all. How could the people closest to us orchestrate such betrayal without anyone suspecting a thing? A soft knock at the door startled me. I froze, my hand instinctively clutching the papers. "Who's there?" I called, my voice echoing in the vast hall. A tall, lean man stepped in, his gray eyes sharp and assessing. "Isabella Mercer," he said smoothly. "I was hoping I would find you here." Who are you?" I asked, my heart pounding. "My name is Gabriel Sinclair," he replied. "I knew your father and I know the truth behind what happened to your family. But you are not safe here. Hawthorne Manor has more secrets than you realize, and some of them are alive, watching, waiting." He handed me a thick envelope, sealed with wax. Inside were photographs, letters, and maps, evidence of secret passages within the manor, clandestine meetings held by Damien Cross, and coded notes detailing the betrayal of my family's closest allies. "Not everyone is what they seem," Gabriel warned. "Trust your instincts. And be careful. Damien Cross is far more dangerous than you know." The rest of the day passed in a blur of research and planning. I moved from room to room, tracing old paths, exploring forgotten hallways, and discovering hidden compartments my father had once used. Each revelation brought a mixture of anger, sorrow, and determination. The estate that had once been a place of warmth and safety now felt like a labyrinth of deceit. By evening, the storm returned, pounding against the windows, as if echoing my inner turmoil. I could sense the presence of someone else in the manor, a shadow moving just beyond the candlelight. Every creak of the floorboards heightened my awareness. I was no longer just a guest in this house. I was a player in a dangerous game, one where the stakes were my family's legacy and my very life. I knew I could not act recklessly. Damien Cross and his allies had spent years constructing a network of power and deceit. Every move I made needed to be precise. I began formulating a plan: gather all evidence, identify allies I could trust, and confront the betrayers when the time was right. The first confrontation would test my resolve, my courage, and my ability to outsmart those who thought they could manipulate me. Night fell completely, and the manor seemed to shift around me. Shadows stretched long and ominous across the walls, and the wind whistled through the broken windows, carrying with it whispers of the past. My determination hardened. I would reclaim my family's honor. I would uncover every secret. And I would ensure that the betrayers of Hawthorne Manor faced the consequences of their actions. Tonight marked a turning point. The web of deception was vast, but I was ready to navigate it. Gabriel's warning echoed in my mind, but fear would not paralyze me. I had inherited not just a legacy, but the strength to fight for it. And with the evidence I now possessed, I was no longer merely a victim of betrayal. I was a force to be reckoned with. The shadows of Hawthorne Manor were closing in, but I would not be consumed by them. Instead, I would illuminate every hidden corner, exposing the darkness that had long threatened my family. The storm had passed, leaving Hawthorne Manor drenched in mist and silence. I moved carefully through the halls, the envelope Gabriel Sinclair had given me clutched tightly in my hand. Each document, photograph, and letter felt like a weapon, proof of the betrayal that had shattered my family and evidence that I could finally use to reclaim what was ours. I followed the map to a hidden passage behind the library. The wooden floorboards groaned beneath my steps, echoing through the dark corridors like whispers from the past. Every shadow seemed alive, every flicker of candlelight a warning. I knew Damien Cross was somewhere in the manor, watching, waiting for any sign of weakness. Finally, I reached the conservatory, its glass walls cracked and fogged from years of neglect. There he stood, Damien Cross, leaning casually against a marble column, his smug smile betraying confidence. "Isabella Mercer," he said smoothly, "I knew you would come sniffing around. Do you really think you can undo everything I've built?" "I'm not here to undo," I replied, steady and unwavering. "I'm here to expose you. Your betrayal, your lies, your manipulation. It ends tonight." He chuckled, the sound hollow and cold. "Do you have proof?" I placed the photographs, letters, and ledgers I had collected onto the dusty table. "This is only the beginning. Every crime, every scheme, every hidden deal, it will all come to light. The law will see, and Hawthorne Manor will remember who truly belongs here." For a moment, I saw a flicker of fear cross Damien's face before it was replaced by controlled rage. "You've grown clever," he admitted, "but cleverness alone won't save you." I activated the small recorder Gabriel had given me, ensuring every word, every confession, every threat was captured. Outside the conservatory, the sound of approaching sirens grew louder. I had meticulously planned this, leaving trails of evidence for the authorities to follow. Damien realized too late that he had been outmaneuvered. He lunged toward the exit, desperation in his eyes. But the doors were locked, and the evidence against him was undeniable. I stood silently, letting justice unfold before me. This confrontation was not just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my family's legacy and ensuring the truth could no longer be hidden. Hours passed like minutes as the authorities processed Damien and his accomplices. I moved through the manor, checking every hidden passage and secret room I had discovered, confirming that every corner had been illuminated and every threat accounted for. The estate, once heavy with shadows and secrets, now felt almost alive, relieved, as if it had been waiting for this reckoning. As dawn approached, I stood alone in the conservatory, sunlight streaming through the broken glass and casting long patterns across the floor. The storm had ended, both outside and within the walls of Hawthorne Manor. I had faced the betrayal that had consumed my family, uncovered the truth, and survived the darkness that had haunted these halls for decades. But I knew this was only the penultimate step. There were still whispers, secrets yet to be revealed, and shadows in the corners that had not yet spoken. Damien's empire had crumbled, but the final reckoning was still to come. And I was ready. The morning sun spilled over Hawthorne Manor, illuminating the estate in a stark, golden light. The storm had passed, but the tension lingered in the air, thick and electric. I, Isabella Mercer, stood at the top of the grand staircase, surveying the halls that had held my family's secrets for decades. Every shadow, every faded portrait, seemed to watch me, waiting for the final truth to be revealed. Damien Cross had been apprehended, his empire of lies crumbling beneath the weight of the evidence I had collected. Yet I knew the battle was not over. Margaret Langley, Victor Hale, and the silent conspirators still hid in the corners of the estate, their motives veiled but no less dangerous. The reckoning had only begun. I descended the staircase, feeling the familiar polished wood beneath my fingertips. Each step a reminder of my childhood, and the family that had been torn from me. The letters, ledgers, and photographs that Gabriel had helped me gather now served as my arsenal. I would confront each betrayer face to face, revealing the depth of their treachery and reclaiming what was rightfully mine. The first confrontation came quickly. Margaret Langley attempted to flee through the east wing, her face pale with fear when she saw me. "Isabella," she stammered. I didn't know." "Save it," I said sharply, placing a photograph in front of her. It depicted her in secret meetings with Damien, planning the family's downfall. "You knew. You lied. You betrayed my father, my family, and me. And now, you will face the consequences." Her protests died on her lips as I called the authorities. The evidence left no room for doubt. Her complicity was undeniable. One by one, the remaining conspirators were cornered, their plans unraveling as meticulously as I had anticipated. Hours stretched into a tense day of revelations and confrontations. Every hidden passage, every secret room in the manor became a stage for exposing betrayal. Isabella Mercer was no longer just a victim. I was the architect of justice, turning every lie against its perpetrator. Finally, as twilight bathed Hawthorne Manor in warm amber light, the last conspirators were accounted for. The estate that had been haunted by shadows and whispers for decades now breathed a quiet sigh of relief. I walked through the halls, touching the walls and portraits, as if feeling the pulse of the house itself. I ascended to the balcony overlooking the gardens, the wind carrying the scent of wet earth and blooming roses. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. Hawthorne Manor had been restored not just in bricks and mortar, but in truth and justice. And yet, I knew that the journey had shaped me in ways I could never have imagined. The betrayal, the secrets, and the darkness had tested every fiber of my being. But I had emerged stronger, wiser, and unyielding. I had reclaimed my family's legacy, but more importantly, I had reclaimed myself. The shadows of Hawthorne Manor no longer frightened me. They were a testament to the trials I had endured and the strength I had gained. The estate would never forget the reckoning of Isabella Mercer, nor would the world forget that truth, courage, and justice could never be buried forever. As night fell, I lingered on the balcony, looking out over the vast grounds. The manor was quiet now, yet alive, a symbol of resilience and redemption. And I knew, deep in my heart, that this was only the beginning of my story. The world may hold more secrets, more betrayals, but I, Isabella Mercer, would face them all with the same unwavering resolve.